What's up, tiny teapot addicts? Today we're looking at a blend. Blends often get a bad name in the specialty tea industry, and the reason is a lot of times you take a bad tea, add some flavor to it, and it just turns into a mediocre flavored thing. But not all blends are like that. The Sugary Pick-Me-Up is a blend of a Phoenix Oolong and a red tea. It's from the winter picking of the Dawuye varietal for the Oolong, and the red tea is sun-dried. 200-gram cake, pretty standard. $25 for the cake, which brings it to 13 cents per gram, which is mind-bogglingly cheap. So while this is a blend, there aren't any additives, it's just the two teas that are in this. They're both really aromatic teas that complement each other well, coming for a really interesting taste between them. The first type of tea, the Dancong, is interchangeable for the term Phoenix Mountain. It refers to oolongs in the region just outside of Chaozhou. The literal translation is single bush, but what it's talking about is the cultivar. There's over 200 different varietals of Dancong oolong, so each one is very unique in the aroma, sensation, flavor, etc. The two that you've probably heard of are the Yashishang, which is the duck shit fragrance, and the Milanshang, which is the honey orchid fragrance. And you heard that character Xiang at the end of both of those. That just means fragrance. All Dancongs are very aromatic, and so most of the naming convention has Xiang at the end of each of the names. Kinda lets us know a little bit about the end of this tea review. The other component of this is it's a Shaihong cha, which means sun-dried red. A lot of times we hear Shaihong and sun-dried used interchangeably, but the thing is, Shai means sun-dried and Hong means red. So we're talking about a red tea, what we'd call black tea in English, right? Yunnan is famous for its sun-drying. Being only 13 cents per gram, it's not even halfway up the cost of the value teas. And this makes sense. It's using the winter picking of Dancong, which is not the most optimal by itself. These winter pick Dancongs will still have the aroma of a Dancong, but they probably won't still have the body in most cases that the spring picking will. Now, while the highest grade of Dancongs are picked in the spring, they're often processed and not out for sale until the fall. And the reason for that is the process is complicated, which is what drives up that price, bringing most good Dancongs to $1 per gram. And I'm usually a guy who's all about those value teas. The problem with value Dancongs is the roasting process, if it's done wrong, will mess up your stomach and mess up your head, like instant headache and stomach ache. So that was one of the biggest things I was worried about this. We have Dancong in the title and it's 13 cents per gram. I don't care how good the flavor is. I will not drink a tea that makes my stomach hurt and makes my head hurt. That being said, due to the roasting process in all Dancongs, you need to make sure you're eating beforehand. For the preparation, we're gonna kick it classic Chaozhou style with a 100 milliliter pot or a 70 milliliter one like the one I'm using today. And if you must and want to be a purist, you can use your 100 milliliter porcelain gaiwan. We're gonna use 5 grams of tea at 100 degrees Celsius and we're gonna bring it to a boil every single time. With every Dancong, bring it back. Don't let that temperature get down. You're gonna lose out on some of that flavor. I really wanna break out of the rut of 5 steeps for Dancongs, but this one followed the path of what I expect for Dancong. Had 5 good steeps, the 6th steep, okay, 7th, don't drink, just tastes like water. When you're drinking it out of the Chaozhou clay, it definitely helped to mild out some of the bitterness off the top, but if you're doing it in clay, I would recommend doing a rinse first. If you're doing it in a gaiwan, I would not do a rinse. It's good to go that first steep. However, even though it does take away some of the bitterness, it also takes away some of the minerality, which is a little bit different than normally with a Dancong. Normally, I expect more minerality if I'm brewing in a Chaozhou pot. So you're not gonna notice the bitterness unless you let the tea cool down for that difference. So I would say honestly it's a wash. Whether you want more minerality, go with the gaiwan. If you want a little bit less, or maybe to take away some of that bitterness, then you can use the Chaozhou. The look of these dry leaves is pretty cool. Obviously you can see the lighter parts of the red tea in here, which is nice. But where this tea starts to look really cool is when we're looking at the wet leaves. I just love the contrast of the green to the reds in these. Like it's really pretty. One thing when you're brewing with a pot, it's hard to get those aroma sensations. So when I brewed with the gaiwan, I got very green notes, like vegetal and almost like a green tea. Not so far as like a super powerful like Japanese green tea or anything like that, but just green vegetal notes. The flavors on this were all over the place. It tasted like a classic sun-dried red tea and then a mix of the Dancong, but honestly, I couldn't pull out too many specific flavors. It was just enjoyable. One of the reasons that I like Dancong so much is because of the sensation and the body feel that you get with this, both in the tea and literally your full body. This had a light to medium body feel, which makes sense because it was the winter picking of the Dancong and red teas don't typically have the strongest body. There wasn't anything to heighten the body, it brought it down a little bit. This is where I would say those really expensive, really nice Dancongs would have set themselves apart, where this one didn't quite do that at 1/8 of the price. Fair. If you're new to Gongfu or specialty tea and you only have a teapot or a gaiwan, or maybe you don't have a huge setup, you don't have a ton of teas, and you're looking for an understanding, this isn't going to help. But if you're at that point where you don't have any tea cakes yet, and you don't really care about what the specific tea is, you just wanna get some good teas, pick up one of these. These are really good. For those seasoned Gongfu tea drinkers, and more specifically, those Dancong tea lovers, if you're like me and chronically running out of Dancong because it's $1 per gram, this is a fun one. Sometimes I find myself with my Dancongs not wanting to bring them out because I'm not sure if people are gonna appreciate the flavor of them. And this is cool because I could get a tong of this for the price of the equivalent of, what would be 200 grams, one cake of a really nice Dancong. So I think for anybody who's never drank tea with you before, this is gonna be an awesome one to pull out for them and give them some of those sensations. If you're one of those people who like, you know what, $1 per gram, I don't care. I'll buy kilos at a time. If you got that money for Dancong, do it. But if you don't, you like Dancong, you wanna share with other people, you feel any of those things I do, pick up one of these. They're good. Or honestly, even a tong. It's like $100 for the tong. All right, I gotta go drink more tea.